Hi, I'm Rob Brydon. Thank you for joining us. This is the last event of this year's virtual Slapstick Festival, and it's very special. It's a recording of an evening that took place last year, 2020, in January, the 26th of January, a Sunday night, in support of the festival. And I so enjoyed it. It was celebrating 47 years of I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue. I was joined on the stage by Colin Sell, Graeme and Barry and Tim Brooke-Taylor. It was the last time that I saw Tim. Indeed, it was the last time that Colin, Graeme, Barry and Tim were together. So it's a special recording. Tim that night was, as he always was, full of fun, hugely welcoming. I must have done about maybe 10 clues with him over the years. And he always just welcomed me with open arms and was a delight to play the games with. And I never lost sight that I was, making comedy with somebody that I'd watched as a boy when I was growing up. And just a lovely guy. So enjoy this. It's the last event of this year's festival, which of course has been virtual. We really, really hope that next year we can get back to normal and have some live events that you can come to and be in the same room as the people you're watching. Imagine that. But for now, enjoy this. It's 47 years of I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, celebrated last year at the festival. Here are Colin Sell, Barry Cryer, Graeme Garden, and the late Tim Brooke-Taylor. Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge slapstick welcome to your host, Mr. Rob Brydon!
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a treat you are in for. Oh dear. Can I say what a pleasure it is to be so close to Bath? What a beautiful town that is. The hotel price is so much more reasonable here, and I salute you. I wasn't meaning to insult you by wearing trainers, by the way. This is a mistake. I left the house. I live in London. I came down. I realised in the car I hadn't changed my shoes. Not a joke, just the truth. I don't want you to think that I would have worn leather shoes if I'd been in Bath, but not. It was a mistake. You know, people come up to me every day and they say, Anton, well, I could carry on like this for another minute almost effortlessly, but you're not here to see me. You are here to celebrate something really rather wonderful, something that I'm very proud to be a tiny, tiny part of, something that you all love. So without further ado, because let's face it, at their age, I mean, there's 4 of them waiting in the wings, but who knows? It's said with love. Let's meet the people you come to see. To start with, a man who, we would all agree, he has the gift of music. And he's kept the receipt. Colin Sell! And in no particular order of preference, please show your appreciation. It's Tim Brooke-Taylor! Welcome. Tim Brooke-Taylor is here. Closely followed at breakneck speed by Barry Cryer. As if that were not enough, bringing up the rear, ladies and gentlemen, Graeme Garden! Oh, well, just feast your eyes for a few minutes.
Well,
You went forward 40 years, this could be a Take That reunion, couldn't it? Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you very much for asking me to
What's your name again?
to host. I am Anton Dubek.
you were right. That's £5 I owe you.
Swine. We're here to talk about Clue, which I love, and I'm lucky enough to have become a part of. A little part. Let's go back to the very, very beginning. How did it start?
I think God said, let her... Oh.
Yeah, I did.
It's not just off the top of your head, Graeme. That was impressive.
We, years and years ago, we were doing a sketch show called I'm Sorry, I'll Read That Again. And if you hang around, you can see some of the old scripts done tonight. We'd started doing the goodies, and Bill and I were writing for television and writing the radio show at the same time, and it became a bit of a chore, and radio pays very much less than television. So I had the idea of doing a show with the cast of I'm Sorry, I'll Read That Again, but without the script. And to do that, I sort of had to invent some silly games, which Julie did, and put it to David Hatch, who said, yes, we'll produce a pilot. And we did the pilot, and afterwards all said never again.
Now, you say that's a flippant remark, if I must say so.
It was very serious at the
It's an
time.
accurate remark, and I remember Humphrey Little saying, swear we'll never do this again.
Why?
Because it was the most embarrassing thing we'd ever done, wasn't it?
It was, yes. We were all cast adrift without a script. And
But is this just the performer in you thinking, oh, I wasn't very good, or was it genuinely?
well, the audience sort of quite responded to it because they were used to I'm Sorry, I'll Read That Again. And by that time, they'd become like a football crowd, and they just cheered to see you say anything. And so they were quite...
Mother, I told you not to come.
It's a grandmother, for goodness sake.
No, and they gave me a hard time and said, you know, how dare you inflict this on... And I have a letter, which I'm never without.
Oh, what are those things that come through?
I'm
the
never
post?
without it.
In an envelope.
Yeah, apparently.
Have you heard about them?
No.
It came from David Hatch.
Now, David was what? The commissioner, controller?
He was a member of the cast of I'm Sorry, I Read That.
Oh,
yeah.
And
okay.
also he was the producer by now of radio programmes, and including our pilot. And this is November the 17th, 1971, and he says, Dear Graeme, I thought we were all very unkind to you yesterday, accusing you of letting us in for a dreadful evening. In fact, we all survived very adequately. And at least 300 people seem to have had an excellent evening's entertainment. I'll cut it down to 30 minutes, and I'm sure I'll be able to sell it as a oncer, and who knows, they may want it on a weekly basis. Ooh. In fact, he said they'll probably put it out on Boxing Day when everyone's pissed.
Who was on that first episode, that pilot episode?
Tim was on it with
Yes.
Bill Oddie in your team, and I was on with Joe Kendall in my team.
Right.
And Humphrey Littleton was the brilliant choice of chairman that both David Hatch and I came to think of his name at the same time, bizarrely. We both had him on our list.
And Humph at that point was a jazz musician.
A jazz musician and also a radio presenter. He had a jazz program, and so we knew he was a broadcaster, and he was quite a witty, nice, and had a very posh voice, and had an impeccable background at Eton and the Guards, and very unlike us, and a bit older than us, and we thought he fits in so badly to what we all were that it would work as him being a chairman who was really kind of slumming it.
In the first series, can you remember who the other chairman was?
No, we did have another
Wait
chairman.
a minute. Humph couldn't do two
or three programmes.
Who was it?
We got some.
Whatever happened to him? Barry Cryer, I think his name.
So you were the host
isn't he?
for two of them. I didn't know that, Baz. You were an actual host. I assumed you weren't in it because you were still at school.
That fiver was well spent, Graeme.
So is that how Barry became involved?
He was the chairman on Humph's days off, and and later on, John Cleese joined the teams, and John and Bill Oddie didn't enjoy doing the show. They both of them missed the security of a script.
Right.
And John, I remember once, was at a loss for words, and so he just poured his glass of water into the microphone.
Bless.
But so they dropped out, and so we had to find other people to come and do it. And Barry was an obvious choice to come and join the team.
Well, we'd been working with Barry and lots of other things as well.
We had,
Yeah,
indeed, yes.
We're all in the Frost band of writers, weren't we? And all that years ago.
48 show,
great.
etc. Yeah. And
I just want to sit here and look at you, basically. I feel. Oh, by the way, at the end of the evening, if you have a question, I should have mentioned this at the start. So have a little think, okay? Don't have awful questions. You know, have a think and come up with a good question.
Rob's sitting there thinking this is like Madame Tussauds.
Oh, I'm thinking the Bee Gees, the Wilderness Years. Write that one down. So how long before it settled on what you would think of as the original, what was that original solid lineup?
last year, was it?
I don't know. It was. I think the final solid lineup was when Willie Rushton joined the teams, and that was about. Was it the second series that he?
Yeah, I think it was. Yes.
Yeah.
It's evolved over the years, and we've got a producer at the moment, John Naismith, who's been doing it for 20 odd years.
Yeah.
And he's made it even better, but it evolves eventually, and the audience are on our side. Please God, and that makes a huge difference because there is that worrying thing. There are certain bits that are written we know that are going to happen, but most of it is ad-libbed. And is that please God, I in the wings before we go on say to myself, please God, let me be funny one more time. And I hear this voice from above saying, you were never funny. Thank you very much.
What do you think? I mean, it's a difficult question to be asked. Or what is it about it that makes it work? I think in the early days that figure of Humph with his, he was a wonderful sort of tent pole. He's a very tall man, but he's a wonderful sort of tent pole in the middle of the show. You must have given some thought as to the alchemy of it and what it is about it that makes it work so well.
I think partly it was the silliness of people seriously playing these ridiculous games, chaired by somebody who was even more serious than the seriousness.
And did he always do that deadpan, straight delivery?
Yes.
Was that from the word go?
Yeah.
I remember giving him a hard time once, and he suddenly turned and said, I'm 78 for Christ's sake. It's not funny anymore.
But he had that wonderful delivery that let's get this over. I've been given this to read. As if he'd no idea what it was. He'd been stuck with it. It was brilliant.
And what was very clever, he'd read out the Samantha jokes, the filthy jokes, but he'd read it and get the big laugh. He'd look at, what on earth are you laughing at?
I saw a quote from him that said that he would just turn up minutes before the recording.
Yeah.
Is that true, or is that an exaggeration?
No, it's not. He would have a quick look at his script. I don't think he ever went through the lines with the producer or asked for any changes to be made. He just sat down and read them out. And that made it all the funnier, because he really was sometimes reading a thing for the first time, and very rarely got the giggles. Yeah. Very, very rare.
And every year he used to say, "Never again."
Yep.
Seriously?
And come back. Yeah.
Well, honestly?
No, that was a joke by that
That was
stage.
the running gag, yeah. Never again. He said.
Sorry, it's a thing called a joke.
Now stop it. Just because you didn't get that P&O gig, you're very bitter.
That is true.
That is true, yeah. I'd rather do it with you, the two of us going off on a cruise together. Let's talk about the games then. How did the games? If you're feeling match fit, I'd like to have a go at Mornington Crescent in a moment.
Well, yeah.
How did those games, that one in particular, how did that come about?
Well, I've heard the story. There was a club called Jerry's, still is.
Sorry.
It was in a
It's
basement.
not a story, it's a game.
This is the origin of the game.
Tell
Well, am
me
I
the
allowed
origins of the game.
to
Yes.
divulge the origin?
Please
The
do.
audience,
And this
right.
is true.
A basement club of Shaftesbury Avenue, and there was a few together, and they were chatting away, and they were joined by a guy who had a lot, and he just kept barging into the conversation and interrupting them and everything. They thought, oh, God. And finally he was going off to the gents, and some brilliant brain, I don't know if anybody here remember who it was, said, when he comes back, we're playing a game, tube stations, anybody who says Mornington Crescent wins, here he comes. And this man came back, and they're all going, Edgware Road, oh, that's good, yes, Paddington, oh, my word. And he started joining in. And they said, will you just shut up, listen, you might get the idea. And they drove him out into the night. That's the story I heard.
I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, I've got a very similar story.
Yes.
And we went to the meeting before every series. We always sit around the table and think of rounds we'll do. And we said, well, this is Mornington Crescent. Shall we play it until we know what the rules are? And that's we will do today. We'll know what the rules are.
Well, today, because there's only 3, normally there'd be 4 players. I thought we could play Helsinki rules
Yep.
with open fold.
Just about, yeah.
Yes.
Are you happy to do that?
Alrighty, yeah.
Yes, we go for
Because
that.
of Brexit.
Yeah.
I very quickly.
Well, after the 31st, we won't be able to.
No.
I live in a place called Hatch End in Middlesex, and a guy stopped me in the street, and he had his 12-year-old son with him. And he said, you must be bored at this. He said, could you tell me what Mornington Crescent is all about? And his 12-year-old son said, it's all bollocks. So I often say, if somebody starts on about it, I say, there's a 12-year-old in Hatch End who knows what it's all about.
What was very moving was there's a blue plaque to Willie Rushton in the station. So, yeah.
And there's a
opposite there's Littleton Arms.
There's a pub opposite Mornington Crescent station called the Humphrey Littleton.
Well, that's lovely.
No, the Littleton.
Littleton
The
Arms.
Littleton Arms.
Yeah.
Look, enough of this. They're on tenterhooks. They want to witness firsthand the playing of Mornington Crescent. But we're going to play Helsinki rules.
Right.
So, and I'm going to be quite tough.
Okay.
Okay. Perhaps we won't go on this cruise then if you're going to be like
Graeme, would you start?
What else? Helsinki?
Yeah.
Helsinki.
Tim starts.
Yeah. Who starts?
Tim
I'm
starts.
so sorry,
Helsinki.
so sorry.
Yeah.
I suppose it does have to be me, doesn't it? Arnos Grove.
Oh, boy.
Thank you.
Ladbroke Grove.
Oh, very good. Very good. I said that.
Fairlop.
Oh, he's done.
Yeah, he has.
Can he? Fairlop?
Yeah, but it's Helsinki.
I know, that's what I'm saying. He can't do Fairlop.
Is he not in Nip? if he does that?
He's not in Nip. What are you talking about?
No.
7 letters, Fairlop, 7 letters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, okay, sorry. Yeah.
White City. No.
Oh, boy.
What? Yeah, White City.
Oh, he's played a diagonal.
Yeah.
Trafalgar Square. Trafalgar Square.
Trafalgar
Very
Square.
good.
Swiss
Very
Cottage.
It's got it. Gosh, it's getting pacey now.
Yeah.
It's not any longer. Piccadilly Circus.
No.
Mornington Crescent. Sorry, Tim.
It
You
wasn't.
led me straight in
Into
there.
that.
It wasn't as long a game as it can be, but it had all the ups and downs, didn't it? And all the excitement. Perhaps excitement is too strong a word. Now that one's been going for a very long time. One of my favourites is in Sound Charades, when we meet Hamish and Dougal. Now tell me, how did Hamish and Dougal come into being?
I don't know really. Sound Charades, we would do a little dialogue scene which basically illustrated a pun which would be translated into a film or a book title. And Barry and I got into the habit of doing it in Scottish accents for some reason. And they had to have names. And to begin with, they actually weren't Hamish and Dougal.
No.
They were
It was more...
Angus and
Oh, yes,
sorts of
it was
people.
corny. Hamish and Dougal was better.
They settled down to be Hamish and Dougal in the end. And it's much to Tim's annoyance that we do Hamish and Dougal.
True.
Because
He groans every time it's announced.
It's their Welsh accents that does it.
no, to be fair, the thing is Tim has a different partner each show.
Yeah.
And so you can't have a regular character like us.
Well, whenever I've done the show, of course, I've been Tim's partner, and
Of course.
I see his face light up when I walk on from the wings.
Oh, right.
That's what you call it.
Oh.
Would
Modesty
you-
Blaze here.
Would you be willing to give us a Hamish and
Bit of Hamish and Dougal.
Well, I don't know that we could really.
If we had a...
This is a special one. You should tell us.
Special one, yeah.
This is a special one written for a special occasion.
This was one that we wrote for my 75th birthday. We had a little celebration and did some performances.
20 years ago.
And I dug these out of the archive, and this is it was my birthday basically, and Hamish and Dougal treated it like this.
Dougal!
Hamish, you'll have had your tea.
It's more than tea I'm after on a day like this. How's the birthday, boy?
I'm trying not to think about it.
Why? Everybody remembers the uproarious party you had for your 74th.
Aye, what a night that was, eh?
Remember the noise Mrs. Naughty made on the bagpipes?
She should have looked before she sat down.
Oh, and Big Tam did his impression of Kirsty Walk.
Very convincing it was too, till the corset came off.
The high point was the haggis with 74 candles on it.
74 candles, and what a crowd of people turned up.
Oh, they just followed the fire engine.
And there was you jigging about like a mad thing.
Well, I put my sporran on back to front.
Well, you should have worn a kilt.
What? And spoil the fun? You'll be having a grand shindig this year, no doubt.
No, I will not. I don't want any fuss. I hope you haven't bought me a present.
No, of course I haven't.
You mean bastard.
As a birthday treat, I've decided to tell you a joke
Tell me a joke.
to cheer you up.
Well, make your mind up which.
Dougal, pin back your lugs. Here comes the joke. There was this lady.
Oh, I've heard it.
Oh. All right, there was this other lady.
Oh, that's a new one on me.
She was walking down the street when she came to a pet shop.
Oh, Duncan's pet shop in the high street.
All right, Duncan's pet shop.
Did she buy a wasp?
He doesn't sell. He doesn't sell wasps.
Well, he always has one in the window.
Look. Who's telling this joke, you or me?
At the moment, it's anybody's guess.
Well, in the window, she saw the most beautiful parrot.
Oh, not much of a punchline, though.
I'm not finished yet.
It soon will be.
Look, she went in and asked the chap, how much is that parrot? He said, £20. She said, £20 for a parrot like that?
Daylight robbery, he saw her coming.
No, it was going cheap.
Parrots don't go cheap.
Oh. Well, this one was.
Oh.
Because the man said it used to live in a brothel.
Did you say a brothel? Ladies present?
Usually, yes. So the parrot used to live in a brothel, and it had rather an extensive vocabulary.
Such as what?
Use your imagination.
That's a strange thing to say in a brothel.
Be that as it may. The lady said, I don't care. This parrot is so beautiful, I'll take it. So she paid £20 and took it home.
The end. Not one of your best, I'm afraid.
No! When she got home, the lady put the cage on the dining table and took off its cover, and the parrot looked round and said, new place, very nice.
The parrot said that?
It did.
You're stretching credibility here, old friend.
She called in her daughters to admire the parrot, and the parrot said, new place, nice girls, very nice indeed.
Oh, no. Oh, this parrot has got completely the wrong end of the stick.
Then the lady's husband came in, and the parrot said, hello, Keith.
And
what?
What did Keith have to say for himself?
Look, it's a joke, not a mini-series.
Oh, you sure it was a joke?
They all laughed.
He didn't.
Who?
Keith.
Well, I mean, you have to say, Tim, it was very good.
Why? But it was very good.
Let's talk about all the many different people that have appeared on Clue over the years. The first one, Willie Rushton.
Oh, yeah.
He was fantastic, yes, wonderful.
Brilliant. Very good. And fearless. He would do jokes that you thought, that's really not a joke, and yet the audience would laugh uproariously at him. He was the rudest man in the world, would say rude things to people in the street.
Yes.
And they laughed at him, and they laughed.
He was saying them to get a laugh, or was he genuinely...
Well, both.
He was usually...
Sometimes he'd really have a go at somebody, and they would, oh, it's him, and laugh away. They didn't get what he was doing. We had a piano tuner. Willie and I did a gig once, and we had a piano tuner. He was blind, and some piano tuners are. They have the finely tuned hearing and everything, and he had his guide dog with him. And Willie and I were going to do the show that night, and but he talked to us all the time, and we thought, oh, well, yes, okay, we've got to go to the dressing room and get ready. He joined us in the dressing room. Will and I are looking at each other now and thinking, we've got to say something in a minute, we've got a show to do tonight. And finally the man solved it, and he picked the dog's lead up, and he said, have a good evening tonight, gentlemen, have a good show. And he walked out the door. And as he went out, Willie said, how cruel of them to give you a cat.
You said there that you and Willie were doing a little gig together, and I know that you work as well with Colin. The two of you do shows together. Over the years, how much of that sort of thing has gone on? Obviously, you guys were in the Goodies together, but what has this sort of spawned other little offshoots?
It's comedy incest.
That's a nice way of thinking of it, yes.
We're all mates. The permutations go on forever.
Well, Barry and Willie used to do a show called Two Old Farts in the Night.
Yes.
And Barry and Colin do still do a show. And we, the main spin-off was really that we took the show on the road and did a theatrical version of I'm Sorry I Haven't the Clue.
Which is running as we speak.
Which is running as we speak in Bradford Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Starring Tim.
What's the
My
difference?
2 days off, these are here.
What's the difference between doing it on the tour and doing a recording for a new series?
On the tour, the material has mostly been tried and tested.
All the best, but also it is geared to that particular place as well.
And also, there are special jokes aimed at the location. And there are still one or two, you're still doing the sort of ad-lib rounds like Chicken
Cross Road, yeah.
Yeah, which are making up a letter, one word at a time.
Yes, well, I know, I've done it.
And, well, I was explaining for the benefit of these people who never heard the show
If
in
you'd
their
forgotten
life.
I'd ever been on the show. I mean, I thought it went rather well.
Well, Jack D is hosting it, and as usual, he gives us abuse. He says at the end, people often ask me about the cast of I'm Sorry, I Have a Clue. Do you think they're comedy greats? And he says, yes, it does.
Jack has fitted into that role exquisitely.
Yeah,
hasn't
he was quite modest about it, so I can't fill those shoes, following the great Humph. And we did about 6 shows, trials, Stephen Fry. Somebody called Rob Brydon was brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was.
I remember.
He was too expensive.
Yeah,
he was too
I know.
expensive.
He was shorter than I was expecting. But when Humph passed, was there any talk of just...
We said that's it, didn't we? We didn't do anything for a year, I think.
I think there was a debate going on at the BBC, and
We said let it rest for a bit, didn't we?
we said give it a year,
Yeah.
let's take a year out, and
Then the taxman
the
came.
public, actually, the taxman and the public wrote in. A lot of
Yeah.
people wrote in and said, "I hope there's going to be."
But I was surprised at how well Jack fits into it.
Well, he's done what Humph did, which is to keep himself completely separate and above what else is going on the stage.
Yeah.
And he's thoroughly disdainful and
Sarcastic. Putting us down, and
but without aping Humph. I mean, he's not sort of imitating.
It's very much his own thing, but it's a lovely fit, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Very
is.
good.
It's great.
Talking about Willie Rushton and various people, of course, Jeremy Hardy was such a big part.
Great singer, beautiful singer.
He's what I call a proper singer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time he appeared on the show, and we didn't realise that he couldn't sing. And the funny thing was, neither did he. And he loved to sing, but just couldn't sing in tune. He did it with such conviction and gusto.
We did one in the Albert Hall with a full orchestra, and when he started to sing, you could see the violinists almost stopping in mid-flight.
They didn't know the joke.
No.
It's marvellous. I was our producer, John, doing jokes before he started recording, and I was sitting in the wings, and I'd sort of closed my eyes. We just waited for him to finish the warm-up. And Jeremy came and put a piece of paper on my chest that said, "Do not resuscitate." Oh, and talking very quick, when Jack took over early days, the Rose Theatre Kingston in Surrey, somebody, I think it was even during the recording, said very loudly in the audience, "It's not the same without Humphrey Lyttelton, is it?" Terrible silence, and Jack said, "Ah, dear Humph, wonder where he is now. I envy him." Defusing the moment like that, I thought was brilliant.
Very good.
And of lots of people have kind of come and come in now. Stephen Fry, I always love it when I hear Stephen Fry in the show. I remember Victoria Wood doing it. Who stands out for you, Tim?
Yes, that's right.
Because Tim stands out for me. He stands in for me sometimes.
I thought Rob Brydon was exceptional.
He was very
I
reasonable.
admired him.
Yeah.
very
I
much.
admired him enormously.
Yeah.
I don't really wish to comment on that. Would you like to?
Over to Graeme.
We had a lot of people in the early days, and the one I remember very fondly was Denise Coffey.
Yes.
Who was the first and for a long time the only woman who ever did Clue, and was very funny and brilliant. She had been on Do Not Adjust Your Set with Eric Idle and Mike and Terry. She was very good.
Sandy Toxic is very good, with a laugh
But yes,
is terrific. Yeah.
and loads of people later on who came along. But we had an eclectic bunch. I remember Kenny Everett did it once.
Yeah.
Now, what I never met you. You worked a lot with Kenny. You were right for Kenny.
Everett couldn't get the hang of it at all, and was still very funny. He was in Chaos, but he could play Chaos.
Right.
He was brilliant.
And I mentioned Stephen Fry because he's a favourite of mine.
He is very good, but he's almost too good, which shows us up a little bit. He's a natural ad-libber, isn't he? And,
Yeah.
and there's that voice, you know. You could say almost.
The only thing that gets him is singing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Jeremy.
Yeah.
Singing and dancing. He's an appalling
Yes,
dancer. I do feel I have the edge on him there.
Oh, definitely.
You've seen him dance, haven't you?
Multi.
Every Saturday night on Strictly Come Dancing.
Multi-talentless. Talented, sorry.
So bitter in one so young. Now, we've been sitting here, and there's a musical genius in another theatre at the Hippodrome. But I know that people never really get to hear from Colin. So we've put aside a little bit of time, but I'm going to give him a lovely introduction, and we're going to get to know Colin Sell, the man behind the music. Well, a few of the introductions that have been used over the years. There's many a pianist who would give their right arm to play like Colin Sell. In fact, losing an arm would be a very good way to perfect the technique. Or do you remember this one, Col? Colin's musical influences are known to be Middle Eastern in origin, mostly Shiite. It'll be interesting to get your reaction to this now in a moment. Last year, Colin was invited to play at a special U2 gig. What fine reunion dances those German submarine crews enjoy. Or maybe this one. Back in the 1970s, Colin once produced 10cc. But the doctor needed a bigger sample and asked him to try again with the tap running. Colin has recently decided he'd like to branch into artist management and has a dream of handling the Spice Girls. Mrs. Sell says it's the only thing that gets him up in the morning. Here's a nice one. It's recently been discovered that Colin has perfect pitch, so if your garage roof needs refitting, and then perhaps my favourite, whenever top professional musicians hear the name Colin Sell, they're always keen for news of the old maestro. At the moment, it's being welded up after failing its MOT again. So Colin's back to using his scooter. And I'm afraid we've run out of time. There's no time to talk to Colin, but do give it. Now, I want to talk about Samantha. How long... Oh, yes. Well, let's bring her on. Let's bring her on. So please give her a welcome. Lovely. Now, how long, she's looking, I mean, as vibrant as ever. How long have you been working with her, Tim?
About 23 years, and I'm very happy still working with her. She's adorable. She was talking to me the other day about her butchers. The butcher said, would she like his beef in gravy? She said, no, she'd prefer his tongue in cider. And which is... She talks a lot of sense.
Yeah. She's a lovely woman. She's a carer in our local area, and, you know, a lot of stair lifts and old people, and she helps the old people, gets them on the stair lift, the old men, and pulls them off at the top.
So she's a very compassionate...
Yes.
Yes.
Thoughtful.
Yeah. I've got a few of her introductions here.
Oh, really?
Right.
Samantha has just started keeping bees and already has 36 or so. She says she's got an expert handler coming round to give a demonstration. He'll carefully take out her 38 bees and soon have them flying around his head. Now, some people in this politically correct climate, and I don't think they're here tonight, but some, let's call them killjoys, have taken exception to
John, our producer, won't stand for that, will he?
No, he won't.
Did he go with you? But he took Emma Darrell, our friend and agent, and Jack D, I think he took.
Me.
When there'd been a complaint, I've got vowel disorder, a complaint, and he just turns up, and oh boy, when those heels go in, our producer, I say an archaeologist found his heels once. He won't back off, and Emma Darrell, I think, said it's playing with words, it's fun, and
There was one complaint.
Yes,
from
the
a lady.
woman.
we've had a complaint.
And,
well, I think is this the one you're talking about?
That's the one I'm talking
Well, I
about.
haven't read that, so I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you.
Take
Look
you
at
about
this.
half an hour.
This is, you'll enjoy this. I'm not going to read it all. It's 4 pages long. And may I just, it really is, I won't give the person's name.
Go on.
Shall I?
Yeah.
Okay. Jane Weeks. And I am writing to you further to the recent letter I received from someone to do the show concerning the above complaint. So here we go. So John Naismith is the producer of the show, and this is what Jane is complaining about. John Naismith refers to Samantha as being comparable to Samantha Jones in Sex and the City. Personally, I find this comparison unhelpful, as I do not watch Sex and the City. 4 pages. Luckily, I had my 24-year-old daughter to turn to, who is an avid watcher and something of an expert. While in broad terms, she understood the basis for the Wikipedia quote that John Naismith uses to describe Samantha Jones, her first comment was, "But there's a lot more to her character than that." And she goes on to say, I read out the examples of your Samantha jokes that I have quoted in my letters to the BBC to my daughter. There was a marked silence down the phone, followed by an incredulous, "Are they supposed to be funny? It's just crude, and that's why I don't listen to that kind of programme." To which you'd have to say, well, that's why Jack D reads them out,
Yes.
and not Mrs. Weeks. But
Indeed.
are you at all sensitive to that sort of?
Not as sensitive as the BBC, apparently, because they took it very seriously.
Yep.
Said that they would immediately stop doing Samantha jokes.
Did they?
Yeah. And so the writer threatened to walk out, and Jack said, well, if he goes, I go. And it was quite a moment. And it was a ridiculous response to just this single complaint, which is the only one I'm aware of us ever really getting.
I don't know how you can object to Samantha has to nip out to take her German Shepherd to the park to give him a stroke while he licks her face and pants. I mean, I don't see...
I agree with you.
I don't see what's offensive. Or this one. Samantha has to nip out now with her new gentleman friend. I mean, that sounds rather lovely. Apparently, they've been working on the restoration of an old chest of drawers. Samantha is in charge of polishing while he scrapes the varnish and wax off next to her.
Hopefully
Well,
I just don't get it.
not exactly.
I really don't. Now, in a moment, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have some questions from you. But first of all, I said I'd only do this if I had a chance to shine. So I'd like to do my favourite round from the show when I'm on it. Well, I haven't been asked for a while, I can't help noticing, which is one song to the tune of another. if it's all right with you, I'm standing up. If it's all right with you, I'd like to do Spider-Man, the words of Spider-Man, to the tune of the lovely Bring Him Home from Les Miserables. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can, spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. So look out, here he comes, the Spider-Man. And is he strong? Well, listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. Well, I mean, that was strangely moving, wasn't it?
Yes.
I couldn't, though.
I'm sure that more than one or two would love to ask the guys a question. If you stick your hand up, and I will try and see straight away. Look at that, quick as you like, in one so old. Wonderful upper body strength. What is your name, sir? Mark, and a Bristolian? Sorry? A Bristolian?
No.
Get out. To the Bristol show for Bristol people. Where are you from, Mark?
Bath.
What can I say? How lovely to have you. Now, what would you like to ask?
In the introductions to Sound Charades, has Lionel Blair ever complained about being accused of pulling off 12 Angry Men?
Lionel Blair.
Yes, he has.
Next.
Pulled off 12.
And is he genuinely irked, or is that a light-hearted, oh, you guys?
He says it upsets his wife and children.
But why should that worry you? Hey, you want to make an omelette? You got to break some eggs.
I toured in a play with him. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, okay.
He claimed on live radio at one point, Saturday Live, the programme, that he never listened to it. And we know he did actually want to be on it, didn't he, at one point?
He did. He was asked to be on it, yes.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on.
Moving on.
Who else has a question? Stick your hand up. That's just scratching his head there. That could be confusing. Yeah, there we are. At the back. That's a young lady, I think. Hello. Well, what's your name?
Mary.
Hello, Mary. And what's your question? Oh, hang on. There's a microphone winging its way to you. There we go.
Well, Rob, your singing was amazing.
Oh, they won't like this.
But my question is, how much rehearsal time do people usually get to be as amazing as you?
Well, if we're going to be doing one of those, say in March, we'll get together mid-November, and we'll just sketch it out, And then we normally tour it around the provinces. No, we have a little, we'll have on the day, a little once through. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Once through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just once. And it shows. What was that, Mary?
Something now.
Would Barry do something now?
Barry or Tim or Graeme.
I don't know if he can.
Something.
She says, would you do something now?
I think you've got to wait till after the show if you really.
Have the visitors been?
What? You've got a lot of relatives today, haven't you?
They steal your trousers when you're asleep, you know.
Do My Old Man's a Dustman.
My Old Man's a Dustman, the tune of Heartbreak Hotel.
I'd love that.
Just a short version of it.
Yeah, just the first 3 or 4 verses.
Just a short version of it. Well, my old man's a dustman. He wears the dustman's hat. He wears gold blimey trousers and he lives in a council flat. He looks a proper nana in his big hobnail boots. He has such a job to pull them up that he calls them Daisy. Thank you, Cole.
Now, what about somebody up on the balcony, perhaps? Anybody up there with a question? Stick your hand in the air. No, nobody in the balcony. Where? All right, well, you've got to stick it up further. What's your name, sir?
My name's Richard. Well, it's not sir, actually it's Molly, but close enough.
We've made contact. We'll come to the other but now you with the microphone, sir.
Thank you. My name is Richard.
Hello,
Are there
Richard.
any plans to produce another version of the Uxbridge Dictionary, please?
Any plans to produce another version, a new version of the Uxbridge English Dictionary?
Of course. No. Well, we're finding it harder and harder to find new ones, but there are a lot of new ones, so probably there will be, yes.
Yeah, the complete dictionary took about 30 years to put together, so in another 30 years' time, he'll probably bring out another one.
All right, well, that's answered your question, Richard. I mean, you can't claim to be shortchanged there. There was another person during your question, what I call an attention seeker. Now, where were you?
Up the top.
Up the top. Oh, that sounds worryingly Welsh. I could only get seats in the gods, Rob. If you don't come to me now, I'll toss myself off. I'll take a couple out in the stalls, I will. You hate us Welsh, don't you? What's your name, sir?
It's not a sir, actually. The name's Molly.
Molly, hello, Molly. I can't see because of the lights.
Step forward slowly into the light. Going back to music again, are there any songs that you used to love dearly that have since been ruined by the many lovely musical games?
Are there any songs that you used to like, but hearing them done on the show has ruined them for you?
Gosh. Almost.
Bring him home.
Say that,
I was trying to remember where he was. Yeah.
I mean, there's no need to be hurtful, is there? Who else has a question? Yeah, at the back of the stores. I'll come to you next. At the back of the store. Yes, sir.
The opening theme, I'm curious how that was settled on.
Good question. The opening theme.
Graeme will know.
I do know. David Hatch played it to me in his office one day and said, "This is a very silly number." And I said, "Yeah, it's Deutschland über alles." He said, "Yeah, but it's actually from the soundtrack of, I think, Monte Carlo or Bust."
Is it?
Yeah,
I
the
didn't
Gert
know
Frober
that.
It's called the
theme.
It's called the
Schickel Shamble. Yeah.
Would you give us a little taste of it, Colin? Now there was someone down here. Yes, sir. What's your name? Hello,
Does
mate.
Raz remember doing a corporate at Wolverhampton Wanderers about 20 years ago with Frank Worthington? Yes.
Do you remember doing a Do you remember doing a corporate at Wolverhampton Wanderers with Frank Worthington?
Yes.
He does remember it. Does anyone else have a question?
And Frank, I think Frank told a story that day.
Go on.
He said, people often ask me who's the hardest man I ever played against. And he said, Tommy Smith of Liverpool. Yeah. He said, I tackled Tom once and he fell down, so I ran away. He said, and Tommy followed me and said, do that again, I'll break your fucking back. And the referee was there, and I said to the referee, did you hear what he just said? And the referee said, I did, but I think he was talking to you.
Who else has a question? Wave, yes, there we are. Just any plans to bring this to a new, younger audience? Well, that's why I'm here. I'm only 54. Well, what a cheeky question.
No, the audience is actually comparatively young now, I'm happy to say. Most kids were brought up having to listen to it in their parents' cars, and they've grown up and they've now become educated and intelligent. It's very good.
And every audience is younger to us.
Yes, good point.
You know that film that's out now with De Niro and Pacino called The Irishman?
Yeah.
Where they've aged them. Well, this is like a stage version of that. It's incredible what they've done. Who else would like to ask a question? We've got time for just a couple more. Yes, at the back there of the stalls. Shout it out, sir.
How long has the show been on the road, and is there a particular venue that stands out?
Good question. How long has the show been on the road, and is there a particular venue? And let me give a little add-on to that. What type of venue does it suit best?
Oh, I always prefer old proper theatre like this, but we did the sort of Bridgewater Hall in Manchester the other day, and it was 2,100, and that was terrific sound, so that worked as well.
Okay. Generally, these kind of theatres are hard to beat, aren't they?
Especially in Matcham.
Matcham
theatre. Matcham.
The audience is just so close. It's a delight, isn't it? And did you ask how long has the show been touring? Yeah. How long has the touring version been in existence?
In existence, or this particular one?
He doesn't mean this show tonight now, which does seem to be dragging.
I'm in the middle of a tour of it. So, do you mean how long? When did we first do it?
Yes.
Start at the Paris, yeah? What do you mean, the radio recordings?
Radio recordings.
Yeah, the radio recordings, did they begin at the Paris Theatre?
No, they started at the Playhouse Theatre, I think.
Right.
And
Paris.
I thought it was the Paris.
Or was it the first
Oh,
theatre?
they're squabbling now amongst themselves.
Lower Regent Street, yeah.
This could get ugly. Oh, let's take what? There's a chap in the front. Second.
Are there any comedians you'd like to have on who haven't been on before?
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Well, on that note, there are other shows that have to come in here. Otherwise, we would go on for another 3 or 4 minutes. Now, we are going to do something very musical and special.
We are.
That involves the beautiful Swanee whistle and the rasp of the kazoo. Now, I believe you and I are on the kazoos. Graeme.
I'm on that.
And Tim, now let me get one of these. And is it that one?
Song sheets.
What are we doing?
The front page, I think.
The front page. We are going to. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
We are going to bring the show to a shuddering climax with a piece of proper music. It's anything you can do, I can do better.
Which is which, Graham?
Well, we are. Yes. Who's doing what?
Start with the whistles.
Start with the whistles.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Heavy font is the kazoo.
Heavy font is the kazoo.
All right.
All right. No, but let's just tune up.
That's
Right.
That's
Can you give just give me? Got it. Okay.
Is there a doctor in the house?
Or a vet? Ladies and gentlemen, Colin Sell, Graeme Barry Cryer and Tim Brooke-Taylor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.